Hello YouTube. Today we will be looking at certain add-ons for the Dovetail FSX Steam Edition. We'll look at the RAF Wattisham Scenery add-on, the Phantom FG1 model by Iris, and a piece of free software that allows static aircraft to be added anywhere in your scenery. The principal software involved here is the ACG Wattisham Scenery and the Iris Phantom FG1. Wattisham consists of one main runway, 05230, a large parking apron with 4 engineering hangars, and 2 HAS complexes, a northern one, the 74 Squadron, and a southern one, the 56 Squadron. The main scenery has been developed by the Airfield Construction Group, notably Stephen Legg and John Young. Their work is particularly detailed and includes many static and moving aircraft. Here we see a 43 Squadron jet overflying 3 static Lightnings that I added to the scenery. I'll explain how to do that later on. Starting from the threshold of 230, I'll use a microlight to explore the Wattisham scenery. Here we see the statics added. Then we're coming up to the main apron parking area, where we see a number of static and traffic aircraft. See the engineering hangars on the left, the control tower on our nose there. And we'll move now towards the southern HAS area.
The Americans call it the Rhino. To the British, it's doubly ugly. Originally developed by McDonnell Douglas in the early 50s as a long-range all-weather fighter for the US Navy, it became part of our defence force with the Royal Navy and the RAF during the mid to late 60s. A total of 170 Phantoms were ordered, with an expected flying life of 1,000 hours each. Many of those being retired this week have done 5 times that number.
It's a war machine. I mean, there is no doubt about it. It's a war machine. There's nothing pretty about it. There's nothing fancy about it. It's designed to go to war. It's designed to be tough, to be a heavyweight. It's not easy to fly, but if you can fly it well, it's very, very effective.
It's noisy, it's brutish, it's fast. It has a tremendous kill, hit and run capability. It has tremendous regard in Europe because although we're an old aircraft, by our training and our skill of our crews, we're able to keep pace with modern adversaries.
Despite that, it's now surplus to requirements. Although the aircraft was never used in anger, nobody who's flown it doubts its potential effectiveness. And even now, 24 years after it first became part of the RAF, there's something very impressive about it.
The UK purchased 3 types of Phantom from America. In '64, the F4K, or as we call it, the FG1 for the Royal Navy, the F4M, or FGR2 for the RAF, had a reconnaissance role added. After the Falklands War in '82, a further 15 unmodified F4J Phantoms were purchased and were operated by 74 Squadron. Continuing our tour, here is the South HAS area with 56 Squadron in residence. Over the threshold and moving to the northern HAS area. Notice the degree of detail here. And you can see 74 squadron jets sitting outside their houses, and one very colourful Tiger squadron jet there. Over the hardened fuel storage area. And then moving down to the eastern end of the airfield. I want to look at the aircraft in the parking area there. So we'll just pause for a second and take in those highly detailed static aircraft. And these are flying models taken from a software add-on package, and they have been inserted into the scenery by means of a software tool called SAM, or Static Aircraft Model Maker. This allows you to select a model from your SimObjects folder in FSX, create a static model of it, and insert it anywhere in your scenery. The Just Flight F6 Lightning is very well suited to becoming a static model. However, many aircraft are not. This is the SAM website and the URL. It is freeware, so obviously good value. Here we see the main interface, which involves 7 steps to create a model, and the crucial step is at step 6, where you have to provide latitude and longitude coordinates, and you determine these by using the FSX slew feature via the Y key. As I said, some models aren't suitable for insertion, and this is the Aerosoft F3 Lightning, not suitable for adding. Moving further east, we come to the quick reaction alert area. You can see the shed for that, and the 2 Phantoms sitting in the QRA shed. When the RAF moved out of Wattisham in 1992, the shed was dismantled and transferred to Bruntingthorpe Airfield near Leicester, and it now houses 2 F6 Lightnings that are owned by the Lightning Preservation Group. Moving further east, we come to the SAM site. And here you can see a number of Bristol Bloodhound SAMs, British built and operational from 1958 to 1991. So 33 years of operation. It was the UK's main air defence weapon, designed to provide a last line of defence for the B-bomber bases. Going over the sports fields now and into the domestic area. So here you see the married quarters, the airmen's barrack blocks, then down towards the main entrance, and you'll see a gate guardian at the main entrance, one of the old Lightnings. Moving over the officers' mess, down over the officers' married quarters, and back onto the airfield. Now I just want to come around and see some of the detail in Hangar 4. So we'll just land here. avoid the taxiing jet. And have a look in the hangar. There you can see a number of 74 Squadron jets awaiting maintenance. We'll just taxi back onto the main apron. And we'll pick up one of the Phantom jets and have a flight in that. Do a circuit of the airfield, see the local scenery, and do an approach and a landing. Okay, so here we are in a Phantom. You'll see it's in 43 Squadron colours, the Fighting Cocks. And they were one of the first squadrons to take on the Phantom back in 1969. They were based at Lucas in Scotland. They operated as part of the UK's Northern QRA zone alongside the Lightnings of 11 Squadron. So the UK operated the F-4 Phantom as one of its principal combat aircraft from the 60s until the early 90s. The UK was America's first export customer for the Phantom, and this was ordered to fill the gap left by a number of British aircraft projects that had been cancelled due to the state of the UK's aerospace industry in the 60s. So the Phantom was procured to serve both the Fleet Air Arm and the Royal Air Force in a number of different roles. And these roles included air defence, close air support, low-level strike, and tactical reconnaissance. Although our Phantoms were assembled in America, they were a special batch, built separately and containing a significant amount of British technology as a means of easing the pressure on the domestic aerospace industry as a result of the major project cancellations that had taken place. So if we go into a left-hand circuit, you can see the flat Suffolk scenery. With Ipswich over to the east there, and you can just see the coastline. So two individual variants were eventually built for the UK. The F4K, which was designed as an air defence interceptor to be operated by the Royal Navy's Fleet Air Arm. And then there was the F4M for Mike version, procured for the RAF to serve in the tactical strike and reconnaissance roles. In the mid-80s, a third Phantom variant was obtained when a quantity of second-hand F4J aircraft were purchased to augment the UK's air defences following the Falklands War. So our initial two variants, the FG1 and FGR2, were similar, being fitted with broadly the same engines and avionics, although in both cases there were minor differences. The RAF version was fitted with the Mark 202 Spey engine, whilst the Navy FG1 had the Mark 203. These Speys were fundamentally the same, but the Navy version had a modified control system for the afterburner, which allowed it to light faster to enable power to be applied quickly in the event of a bolter on the small decks of the Royal Navy's aircraft carriers. And down safely. So here we're coming past the static aircraft. You can see a Just Flight Lightning in camouflage, 5 Squadron, one of the 11 Squadron Lightnings, Chipmunk, Jet Provost Mark 5, and finally a Lightning of 74 Squadron. Although there were some minor differences between the two types of Phantom built for the United Kingdom, there were many significant ones between the British Phantoms and those built for the United States. Most obvious one was the substitution of the Rolls-Royce Spey turbofan for the General Electric's J79 turbojet. The Spey was shorter in length than the J79, but wider in diameter, which meant that the intakes had to be redesigned, making them 20% larger, with a consequent increase in drag. The Spey was more efficient at lower altitudes and meant that the British Phantoms had better range and acceleration. However, they were less efficient at higher altitudes and also lacked speed compared with the J-79 powered versions. This discrepancy became apparent when the F-4J was obtained for the RAF in 1984, and many regarded the F-4J variant as being the best of the three variants to serve in the RAF. So there we are, back safely on the apron at RAF Wattisham circa 1991.
In 1939, the first air raid of the war using Blennens flew from RAF Wattisham in Suffolk. Today, the base was officially decommissioned and moved into RAF history.
I give into your safekeeping the standard of number 74 Fighter Squadron. I charge you to guard and defend it.
The base has been home to the Phantom jet since 1984. They're now being retired from service with the RAF, but today there was one last flypast. The base itself will be run down by the early summer of next year. What happens to it then still has to be decided.
Well, it was decided, and the base was transferred to the British Army, who moved in 3 and 4 Regiment Army Air Corps.
For those who love the Phantom, this is a sad sight. The high-tech equipment and the weapons have been removed, and soon these planes that once played a vital role in our defences will be heading for the breaker's yard. The future of Wattisham itself remains uncertain. It will have its place in RAF history, though, as the last home of the Phantom. By way of saying goodbye, the pilots flew one final mission in close formation.
And this is just something different that they will have not experienced perhaps on another squadron.
And your reaction to the fact that this plane won't be flying anymore soon?
It's a disaster. I mean, personally, I've been involved with the airplane for 17 years now. It's my life. I love it.
So the conclusions. And the credits. So I hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks very much for watching. See you next time.